Hopefully it records. There we go. You're recording this meeting. All right. Yep, everybody knows about it. Feel okay. All right. So, I'll pull up my SQL workbench. All right. Now this might look different. It'll look different in Mac and PC, but very similar. So first thing I want to do here is I want to click on. Actually, it does look different. Here I want to do File, New Model. That's the first thing I want to do. So if you look at it, the first thing it shows you is My Database. I recommend changing that name because if you don't, guess what the name of your database would be? My Database. And you don't want that. You want to come up with something good. So also make sure that you don't have something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out because it doesn't have my account here. So I'm going to make sure that I don't have this. Connect to my account. And all right, don't know my password. All right. All right, there we go. So first thing I'm going to do is, oh my. All right, so I'm going to look at my schemas that I have out in place. Now, I think I have a Yelp here. I'd like to get rid of it if I can. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of Yelp so I can create a new Yelp database. So let me do this. Oops. Do these shut database. All right. So now Yelp does not exist. And I could use that as my environment. All right. So I'm going to right click right here and choose Edit Schema. And you see where it's highlighted here. I'm just going to type in Yelp. Does anyone know what Yelp is though?
Isn't it for like reviews?
Yeah, it's like reviews. Fine. I don't know if I remember my email.
Didn't they used to have it so that you could point like a camera in a direction and it would show you restaurants or whatever?
Yeah, you're right. You could do that as well. So this is an example. This is me. My wife gets mad when so a lot of times I'll put a photo of her out there. That's probably not a good photo. And then someone will say, hey, I did a review. I have a review on Yelp and I seen your pic out there. So she usually gets upset with me because I don't tell her about it. I don't get her permission like I got your permission. Yeah, we actually were impeached Donald Trump shirts before. That was not good. Anyways, what else? Anyways, as you see here, what we're going to do is build a schema like this that includes like friends, reviews, how many photos you have out there, how many years you've been elite, anything that could be correlated with Yelp. So any type of activity, like we'll use something that has text, say it's text, how many stars that you gave for that, and so forth. And so all this information that you see here is all stored in some type of database. Actually, if I remember right, they use MySQL for their database as well. And also, like, for example, in the last 90 days, I've had this many views or this many views on your photos. So it keeps the traffic of how many people are actually looking at what you posted. So we're going to build a database like that saves that information. So I just wanted to kind of give an idea. So I'll click rename preferences. If you want to keep it at, hit OK. I can close it. Now you see my database name is called Yelp. And if you got questions, just let me know. Now you can do a lot of different things here. You can add a view, a routine, a group. I wouldn't recommend doing any of that here. Just do the table so that you have the table structure. You have your schema set up and so forth. So I just gotta look at my notes because I did this already. Some of it. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna do the easiest table first. All right, I'll do photos first. All right. So what you have to do is if you I won't let you zoom in on this one, guys. Oh yeah, well, if you click on Add Table, this is the part where it's easy. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. You can probably zoom in on your screens, computers, whatever. This right here, you just do the table name. So this table right here will be called Photos. Just type Photos in. This is going to be pretty easy. And then you'll put your column name or whatever you want to call it. So I'll call this Photo ID. I'll make it an integer because I want it to be an ID, and then I'm gonna select PK for primary key, and you see it automatically selects it. I have primary key. I have not null, which what that means is that every time you add data to it, the value can't be null for this because anytime you have a primary key, the value can never be null. You could put comments in here. You could, and this is what I'm looking for you guys to do as well, is I'll just say the primary key for the table. Okay. Then I'll click on the next white space that I have here, and this one right here is going to be business ID. Oops. Business ID is going to be, in this case, we'll make it an integer. Actually, yeah, we'll make it an integer. And I don't need to add any primary keys or nothing to here. If you hover over these, it'll tell you what each one stands for. So B is a binary column. The only time that we use a binary column is if you have a value that you may consider true or false. You could use a binary, so the value will be either 0 equals false and 1 equals true. If you highlight over the NN, this means not null. UQ, unique index, we'll talk about those later. Binary column, unassigned data type, so we won't use these. ZF, we won't use that as well. AI, auto incremental, we could use that. What that means is every time you add a row to a table, you know, like when you do your insert, if you do an AI, it automatically adds a number to it. If not, you have to add it to it. So in this case, I'm going to choose AI because that makes it easier for me. And then next one is generate a column. We don't need that. Then the next column I'll have here is, I'll call this caption. So this might be a category that you want to give a caption to your photo for whatever that case is. And this one I'll call a varchar, and I'll give it 50 as the max. Okay. So I have 3 fields in here: business ID, photo ID, caption. And you know what? Let's give it label as well. So if we want to give it a label, so label. And this one I'll make shorter. We want the label to be too long, so I'll keep it at 15. Can anyone remind me why I'm using a varchar over a car? We talked about it.
Because the varchar, you can put it to a certain number, and it'll only take up as much as you put in.
Yes,
That makes sense.
that's exactly what I'm looking for. Great explanation. They only use the amount of space that you use. Where car will use the whole entire space, and it can cause problems. Good job. You guys remember pretty good. All right, so here I could just click the X. Well, I'm gonna save this first before I even do that. So I'm gonna save it to that file I told you guys about. You see there it's called MWB. It's MySQL Workbench. So let's say that Team A is setting this up. Team A has 3 people in a group. Let's hypothetically say they have 6 tables. So Team A number 1 member, he or she will save this. We'll say DB schema, whatever you want to call it. Team A, Team 1, whatever. You save it. And once you create this table and the other table, you'll save it. You'll upload it to Git repository. And then the other team member will go in and do their stuff and do their stuff. So you're all going to be a dependency, and you guys and ladies can talk to each other and see who's going to do what. It makes it easy. So as you notice right here, guess what? I have photo here. I could close out of this. Now if I come back and I want to change it, I could do right click and do edit photos. You'll be able to do this in the table once you have the environment up and running. So once you create the schema and you have the diagram and you already have the schema ready, and this is an environment, that's where you want to make your changes by making modifications. Like if you want to edit the schema, you want to do it from there moving forward. But let's say in a real work environment. So for example, when I worked at BNY Mellon, one of the things I was responsible was we had this schema like this, and the schema had, I think, 370 tables, which is insane. And we had other groups that used our environments. And so anytime we would make a change, every Tuesday and Thursday, I held a meeting, and we would talk through the changes that people were going to make. And before, they had to get my permission before we made it, because we wanted to make sure that there was no problems with the environment. It worked fine. So they got my permission. I would go ahead and apply it to the environment. And then we would push the changes, and then we keep the schema updated. So with that in mind, try to keep your schema updated as well. So let's say that 2 weeks from now, you're like, you know what? Why did we add that column? I don't like it. Update it in your database. But before you do that, just update your schema so you keep your schema updated. So when you present your schema at the end, the diagram, everything kind of correlates. And if you have questions, ask me later, but just to make sure we're all on the same page. All right, next one is tip. So tips can be written on the users for business. So for example, maybe Yelp sometimes says, hey, you know, we have specials this week, and they'll release these specials and they only come out, maybe they have them set up to come out every third Friday of the month automatically, whatever the case is. So I'm going to create another table, and called table 1. So you want to make sure you change this to tips. And this column will be secret menu. And this one will be, so this one will be a varchar. Actually, let me, son of a beep. I need to have an ID in here first. So I'm going to call it tips ID, integer. I'm going to make a primary key, not null, mag. Then I'm going to create another column, and this column right here will be called, I'll just call it tips, we'll say text. We'll make it varchar. In this case, we'll make it 250, nothing over it. Then next column would be complement counts. So actually it'd be date. So we want to have dates here. So we'll say tips date. You see what I'm going here. I'm using, you can use this so it makes your environment more correlated. It doesn't have to be this way, but it's fine. So I'll do date. The setup that they have in this room, and you'll see it, I'm 6'7", so I have to bend down about 5 inches in order to hit the keyboard. They should have something for tall people. So this is why my back hurts when I lay here. Another one will have complement. I know you guys don't care. Complement count. So how many compliments did you get? And I'll make that an integer. Next one we'll have here is business ID. So we're going to do in this case, we're doing a 1-to-1 relationship for sure. So we'll make that integer. And then we'll have a user ID. And this will connect to another table later on, our user ID table. And so this one right here is going to be a varchar. So it depends on whatever you set up. Now, this is what you set it up. So I'll say user ID can't be any more than 25 characters. It shouldn't be that long anyways. Boom. So now what I'll do is you see I have tips there. I can just hit that and it saves it. And if I'm thinking, oh man, I just forgot to save it, I could just go in there and you see here's all my information. All right, so a new table, maybe. All right, here we go. Let's see what else I've got here. All right, check-in. So one of the things that you could do is check in. So I'll do check-in ID. It tries to give you a value yourself, but I try to come up with my own naming convention. So I'll make it a auto number. The next thing is date. So we'll do just date. Now when you do date, it'll allow you to do like date time. It just depends if that's what you're looking for. I'll just do date, and that's it. So that one right there, I'm going to exit out. I should save it. Oh, it doesn't save it, so I was wrong about that. Haha. So I screwed myself out by doing that. I told you you didn't have to, but I was wrong. Beautiful. Oh no, check. It saved it. It just didn't refresh it. All right, so I was right. All right, let's see. Moving up. This is a big table here. All right, this is a user table. So I'll type in user. And the first thing I'm going to have here is same thing. I'm going to have my primary key, which would be called, instead of calling it user ID, I have to be careful. So I'm just going to call it user key ID in this case. Else, and this is not going to be used to the primary key. It's not going to be used to connect, but we will put our user ID in here, and it's user underscore ID. And I think that one was a varchar 25. So the varchar 25. Then we have, let's see, we're going to have this user's first name. So you've seen how I had, my name was Jeffrey S., Jeffrey Southwest Critic. There's a whole reason for that, but so I have that. So I'll put name here, and then whatever my name is. So I'll keep it varchar, nothing more than 50. Then we'll have review count. So how many reviews do I have? And we'll make that an integer because we want it to be a number. And then you see down here when I have text, not for Yelp, I don't care if you add, but when you create your own tables, I will want you guys to comment so we could look, I can look at it and see what you have. So I'll just say, for example, here, total reviews by user. All right, cool. Let's see here, friends. I think that's what we want, or no. Yelping, since, like maybe you've been Yelping since 2015 or 18 or whatever. So this one we'll just put a date. Don't want the time. All right. Then we'll also add how many friends you have. That'll be an integer. Let's see what else. I hit tab and it tabs down. Well, hold on, I'm wrong. Friends will grab your user IDs of the other friends. So this needs to be a varchar. 50, I think we have, or no, 25. So if you have like user ID, JCM user ID this, it'll grab that information and store that data. So with friends, what else? We have useful. So was it useful? So in this case right here, it'll be an integer. So they'll save it as a 1 or whatever, how many you have. So we'll just say int. Then we have funny. So I don't know why it's funny, but it could be funny. I think you could do something like that. Or, let's see here. All right, we see one code. I think it could be like that. If I go, oops, whatever, someone did a review on something. So you could have funny, useful, it was funny, it thanks it. So what it'll do is it'll save it to the database as a whatever that number is. Any questions at this point? Does it seem pretty easy, straightforward? All right. All right, so there's cool and fans. How many fans you have? So I'll go pretty quick now. Fans, integer. Then we have, what else? We have elite. So how many years you've been elite? In this case right here, we'll just use integer. So if you notice, if I go down, back up to my page, it shows that I've been elite years now. And that has something to do with my name. All right, what else? Average stars. Let me zoom in for you guys. So average stars, so they'll do an average on how many stars you get. You can get up to 5 stars. Another class I taught before, I taught a Python class, and we actually built a Yelp application, a desktop application in Python. And we use the database for it. That's pretty cool. So complement, hot, another one, integer. Then we have, I'm looking at the JSON code here I put together earlier. Complement more, or complement more. So if people have more complements. Integer, I could go on all day here. I wanted to add a lock, and I probably didn't get everything. I just went through and figured out what I had. Then we could do complement huge, integer, complement list. Am I putting anyone to sleep yet? Oh, no. All right, complement note. How many complements you got on note? Integer. You see how I'm doing everything complement, so it makes the table sound the same. Plain, complement, cool. Plain. Definitely want to make sure this guy's safe. I'll be hurting. Writer, and then photos. All right. Sure that's saved. That's a lot there. All right, so it has all that data there. All right, cool. Let's see what else. There's a couple more tables. We're almost done. You guys will have to do the same thing for your assignment, your individual assignment, by the way.
I don't know for the forest one if you want it as an integer or as a for 45.
Come again? Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
For the last one you did, you left it as a var instead of an integer.
Oh, nice pickup. Yeah, it should be an integer. Good one. Nice pickup. I think I messed up too. Maybe I didn't. Hold on. That was user. Oh, that's all right. Thank you for that. All right. Next one is review. So we're going to do reviews. So create a new table. And this one will be called reviews. And we'll have, this one will be make ID. So we'll call it view key. One reason because we're having something else. We'll make that primary key. And then we're going to have something called a review ID. And this is going to be a varchar. And it's going to be up to 25 characters. This ID right here is going to represent a unique ID that like maps to the user ID, username somehow. Yeah, or no, to the review ID. Then we'll have the user ID. That's what I was thinking about when I said that. So now we have user ID. Now we're going to have business ID as an integer, I believe. Now we're going to have how many stars, integer. We're going to have date, and that's going to be date. We'll have text, any type of text that they have. In this case, we have to limit the text that we have. So we don't want to make it too much, but I'll give it 4,000. Useful. Is it useful information? Integer. Funny. So all these tables, some of them have the same columns because they'll all be kind of related to each other in some sense, some way. Let's see here. Reviews. So we did useful, funny, and cool. Nope, I don't want that in there. So if you come across something that you don't want, you can delete the selected one. All right, we should be good there. And what else? Lastly, we need a business table. I don't think we have that. Oops. Yeah. We have check-in, tips, users, photos, reviews, table 1. So let me remove this here. Not sure what I got. Yeah. All right, business table. All right, business ID. We have a business key. I should have named them business key, and I'll go back and probably fix that and make a key versus ID. So business key being a primary key. Then we have a business ID. We'll fix that. We'll have an integer. We'll have name. So name of the business, for example. We probably don't expect it to be too big, so I'll make it varchar 50. We'll have the city. Same thing here. State. This one will be, what data type can we give state? Anyone want to take a stab at it?
Can we do just car?
Yeah, how many values should we give it?
2.
Perfect, nice job. All right, postal code. So I'll just do the 5 in this case. So I'll do the same thing here. I do char 5. Not 65. Jesus, we know we're gonna have 5. The next one will be. Oops. Next one is okay. Next one is longitude, latitude. So we have longitude, and this one right here, we want it to be a float. We haven't talked about floats yet. So float can act as 2 different relationships. So float could be a decimal, or it could be a integer. So it's a numeric value. So it's either it could act as an integer or it could act as a decimal value. Or I mean, it could, oh, sorry, I apologize. It can act as a decimal value, but it's a little bit different. Like if we did decimal, we can only do like 45.36. But for like longitude and latitude, sometimes you have like the negative sign in there. Float will allow us to do that as well. So, and it's probably more equational. It's better to do it that way. So we have longitude. and we have a latitude. We'll use that as a float as well. Let's see, what else? We have stars. And that will be an integer. We have review count. That'll be an integer. That's about it right now. Yeah, all right. Review count. What else? Is open. So is the place open? Yes or no? Especially during COVID. Then we want to have attributes. So attributes in this case they have here could be, like for example, they could have specific information like, does the restaurant have takeout? Does it have parking? If anyone's ever used Yelp, and it'll come up after you check in somewhere, it'll come up and say, hey, and I swear to God, it's using my camera when I ask the questions, because it's looking at what people are doing. It says, do they wipe the tables after someone eats? Ask specific questions. Does the place have public Wi-Fi? Does the place have people sitting at a bar, etc.? All these questions. And what it does is it saves in these tables and it saves values to them. So we'll just call it attributes. And in this case here, it's going to be true or false. So let's see. Oh, let's see if we can use that here. So if we have a Boolean value, that would be the perfect answer. Binary will work, but let me see if they have a Boolean. I can't remember offhand. I don't think it does because Booleans, oh, they do. We could do Boolean. Boolean is true or false, so that's what we'll do. So attributes true or false, what we're asked. So the attributes will have something there, but it'll have like a almost like a sub page or something. Oops. Oh, let's see here. And lastly, this one we need categories. And categories in this case will be a varchar, and I'm gonna get. Oh no, I'm gonna delete that one. That was a mistake. Oh, cool. All right.
For the is open, do you want that as an integer?
I do, yeah.
Be like a yes, no.
You know what? That's a good question. Let's name it a Boolean. Nice pickup. Like that. That's a better idea.
Can the integer act as a Boolean?
It can, yeah. It could act as a Boolean because what's going to happen is the table when it saves it, it's going to save it as 0 or 1. If you use an integer, you could use 1 or 0, but you have to program it to do that. Where Boolean will automatically do it for you. Like if you have an database, you have a program to call the database. It's easier, but the answer is yes. You can use either or. Good question. Let me go back to check-in, and I'm gonna rename these instead of check-in ID. I'm gonna name this key if it's a primary key, because that's what I was doing with the other ones. So that way we have kind of heads or tails and stuff. Photos, photo key, review key, business key. Oops.
For me, every time I hit Boolean, it switches to tiny integer for some reason.
They gives you a what?
It switches to like tiny integer, like it doesn't stay as Boolean.
Oh, that's weird. I'll have to take a look at that.
I also get that.
Someone else had it too?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it too.
I wonder why it doesn't happen to me. Let me see. Hold on a second here. So you tried to type in Boolean, it doesn't work?
Yeah, when I type it, like I'll look for in the list. It just switches back to tiny integer.
All right. You could use tiny int. I might have an update or something. If you use tiny int, it's fine. It'll give it a value of 0, 1. I'm not sure why I did that. That's fine.
Okay.
Good question, though. All right, so we have our Yelp environment. You heard if you do tiny int, that's fine. Same thing. We talked about the different options, relationships a little bit. All right. Now, I need to breathe. All right, so we have our environment. Now what we're going to do is click on Add Diagram. And so you should get this. You should get an empty space. And then if you notice to your left under Catalog Tree, you have the name of the database schema, and then you have tables. I'm going to click on Tables, and it has all my tables out here. Now, there's a little trick to the assignment. I'm not going to do it all. I'm going to let you guys figure some of it out. But the most important thing is you could click on all of them or however you want to do them. I'll just drag them out here. Check in, photos. We'll pinpoint these in a minute here. Reviews, tips, and user. Let me maximize this here. Select this over here. Let me minimize this guy here. So I'm going to try to correlate these somewhat so they make sense. Depends on how you have it. So what's the key guy? This guy is used everywhere. Oh my God, he's all over the place. You see, they're pretty big. So I'll do maybe check in, pair. Reviews is very important. So actually, so reviews should be here in the center because it's going to tie to everybody. Same as everything else. As you see, you have some type of environment like this. You can change the direction of it. It's important to figure out where the key elements happen. So we know reviews is going to be used and users are going to be used. So I put those guys in the center. I'll put them here. I'm going to save this so I don't lose it. Save model as, and then you want to name your model, which we already have it as DB schema team 1, whatever you call it. Yeah, sure. And save. So you've saved your file after people checked it in, then whoever is on the team will come out here and create your schema like this. Then what you need to do is build your relationships. And so for example, let's see here. This is where you do your homework. So we know that user ID, and so we see that we don't have a user ID here, but we have a user ID over here for reviews. So if it's kind of hard, hopefully you can see this. I'm not sure if I could zoom in on this one. I can. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on user ID right here. Oh, you know what? I have to zoom out and show you what I mean. So I forgot to tell you, over here we have these relationships. So if you highlight, it'll tell you which one. This is one-to-one, one non-identifying, one-to-many. Where's one-to-many? This one right here is identifying new, many, and so forth. So all this is actually in your textbook, by the way. All these different relationships. So one-on-one we talked about. So for example, if I click on one-on-one, hopefully you can see this. So when I click on it and highlight it, you see where it's dragging, it looks like a diamond or whatever. So if I click on user ID right here, I hope I remember how to do this, and then click over here. Yeah, so you click on, this will be the hard part, is clicking from location to location. So I highlight it, clicked on it, and then clicked over here, and it ran it. If you see it when you highlight it, oh my God, I can't do this right. It didn't do it right because it did the user key ID and the primary key, and it's not what I want. So you could hit edit relationship. Yeah. That's not wrong with that either. All right, this is not what I want. So I'm going to delete that. See, I did it on my MacBook, and it let me edit it. For some reason on here. Yes, delete porn feed. All right. Let's do this. I'm going to do one-to-one. I'm going to grab the wrong one. Ah, nice. So you could do that too. You don't want to. User ID and user ID. Oh, so it's grabbing this schema. It's killing me. I'm gonna look at my computer because I did this and it worked fine. Not the same database, but let's see here. Oops. Use. Ah, it's already there. Oh no, you know what it does on the, okay, so it did user ID. So, oh, I know why. Okay, hold on. I think I know why. Give me a second here. Because I have that list as the primary key. Okay, I think I know what the problem is. See, the thing is, it should allow me to edit the relationship, but it's not allowing me to do it. This is not what I'm looking for. This just gives me, I want to be able to edit the relationship, but it's not letting me do it. What to do user ID? Oh, because it's only going to work on integers. That's why. So when you do the relationship, it has to be integer to integer, and I'm trying to do user ID. I have it listed as a varchar. So if I had a list as an integer, but in this case, I can grab these two keys. So let's see. Let me find something on. I'm gonna do something else. Give me a second here. What you can do is you could take from table 1 to table 2. So you get and it'll build a relationship up the table as well. So delete that for a second. So if I do the one-to-one, I do table 1 and table 2. That's how it does it. Just joins the tables together. It doesn't mean that it's joined off the user ID. I haven't did this in 6 months, so it took a while to think about it. So this will join the table together. If you do a one-to-one or one-to-many, then you'll have it like that. So these guys are joined together. You can also take the business table and link to the photo table because they have a relationship. It's a one-to-one, so I can come here and go there. I also want to move this around so you can see it. The check-in is a little different. I'm trying to think how they have that set up because it doesn't really tie to anything, so that's a problem that we have. Also, now the tips table has a user ID, which could relate to this, so it has a one-to-one. So we could say from here to here, so we have a one-to-one relationship. The only one it doesn't have a relationship is the check-in, unless I do have the check-in here somewhere. I'm not seeing it offhand, so we might have to change the schema around a little bit. Maybe it's in here. It should be in here. It's not. So what I'll do here is I'll go to edit the user table, and we need a check-in ID because apparently it's not there. So I'll do check-in ID integer. So that way it allows me to do a one-to-one there. Oops. Perfect. Now, if you look at this, what this basically says in a nutshell, only the reviews can talk to the user, unless you want them to talk to other ones. And the user could also talk to tips and check-in, but it can't talk to photos. Only the photos could talk to the business key for now. Set up, all the tables can correlate from each other from what I'm seeing, which I don't understand why they have it like that. But there might be a reason. And then, the photos are there. So in your tables, when you do your diagram, you want to make sure that they all talk to each other in some manner. So let me save this. All right. Any questions at this point? All right. All right, so here comes the fun part. Always mess it up. So if you click on database, if you're using a Mac, it'll be at the top. You have two things, reverse engineering and forward engineering. So if we had an existing table that we have, you know, like this, the stuff that we downloaded, the AP, the OM and stuff like that, we could go out to that and do a forward engineering and create a schema for us, which would have a blueprint of the environment. But in this case, I'm sorry, reverse engineer. I'm an idiot. Reverse engineer. Forward engineering is what we want to do today. I told you, I usually mess them up. So I'm going to do forward engineering, and you're going to select your connection to your environment. So I'll do my Jeffrey T, my environment. I'm going to click next. Make sure all this stuff is selected here, unselected. Make sure to use model attached scripts is selected. Hit next. Your password should automatically be saved. Mine isn't. Hit OK. This right here, none of this stuff is going to be selected, only this guy up here, because this is your table. Hit next. So what's going to happen here is you're going to get this. So when you create this schema, this is something that you're going to upload to the environment, to GitHub. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save it, and I'll call it Yelp schema, and I'll call it create. Okay. And then if I hit next, you see all this stuff here, it'll automatically select and hit close. If I go out to, if it works, I'll go out to here, and I should have a Yelp environment. Yep, so you see right down at the bottom here, if you can see, I have Yelp and Zelp, but I have a Yelp database schema. If I click on tables, I have all my tables out there that we talked about. So if I come out here to select, there's not going to be any data, but I have all the rows. So what we did here is we created an environment. Well, we use Yelp's environment to a degree. I don't know if that's exactly it, but from what I gathered, I'm sure there's a lot more to it. But anyways, we created a schema. We made relationships with the schema. We reversed or forward engineered it, sorry, which allowed us to save our scripts, what you have to do, and it allowed us to connect to the database and just publish it. Now, when you guys in your teams, no one's going to be able to connect to each other's database, so you want to make sure that you guys are on the same page. You want to make sure that database exists in each of your environments so that you guys can work together, but you want to make sure that all your stuff is up to date, changes and so forth. We'll talk about that later as we move forward, but for now, we just want to make sure that we have this going. Let's see if I can engineer something real quick. If I remember, I can do it from here. I think if you do a reverse engineer, so if you want to reverse engineer something, so if you connect to your environment, I should have saved it. I wanted to go through this while I thought about it. I could, okay, connect environment. And then I can choose what database. So for example, I want to reverse engineer the OM schema that we had. And then I'll click next. And it retrieves the objects and I hit next. And you notice here it has MySQL, it has all this crap here. Execute it. And I hit next. Shows you what was created. And ta-da, look at that. I have an environment right there. So I was able to take an existing table schema that we have and create this right here. We reverse engineered it. Shows all the tables. It shows the relationships that you have that are in place. So if you highlight, it'll show you what is in place and so forth. So that's how you reverse engineer it. If there's something out there that you're curious about, think of that. Think of this as a way to get an example of something, of reverse engineering, and see how something's set up if you're looking for pointers and so forth, besides the Yelp database. Any questions at all on any of this stuff, on any of this material?
Does forward engineer essentially generate the code to create the database? Okay.
Yes. Yes, and it also it creates the data, the code, and it also allows you to connect directly to the environment to execute it. So both things. Reverse engineer allows you to take an existing schema and create a diagram for it, which could be the way that you update your schema each time. So let's say that you have 3 people in your group, and 3 weeks from now you made a lot of changes, but it's only on one person's computer. The easiest way to do it is reverse engineer it, save your MWD file, update it, and everyone has the latest and greatest copy of your data. And then people could go out, drop their schema, and re-upload it, and you have the latest and greatest. Perfect world, we would all have an environment that we're all connecting to that is one universal environment. But we're not there. I mean, if you guys want to share your stuff, that's fine, but this is one way. Any questions? Other questions? What do you guys think? Be honest, was that a lot of information? Or was it a piece of cake?
It wasn't that bad.
Wasn't that bad, that's good.
Except for I got an error when I tried to do that, so I'll
So-
send you a screenshot in Slack or something.
Okay. Yeah, it could be something, how you set up the relationship as well.
Yeah.
So if anyone gets error messages, you want to talk about it, send me a screenshot of your error message, and we'll start from there. And if there's a problem, then I'll have you send me your file. I'll look at it. So going back to this, so create individual assignment. Just walk through what we did is Yelp and set that environment up. And then assignment 8, group. You're going to work in your group. You guys come up with whatever you're doing. Create the environment that we just did. You're going to save when you get the code, save it as .SQL, upload it to GitHub. Execute your SQL code, push this out into the environment. Save your MDB file, whatever. Upload that as well, your diagram file that produces your schema. And then lastly is your PowerPoint presentation. Create a 3 to 5 page presentation, which maybe has a screenshot of your code, not your code, but your schema. And then you guys can talk about what type of relationships that you did. Like I said, this doesn't have to be the set in stone relationship, but this should be a foundation that you build. And that will be next Monday. That'll be how we start off the classes. We'll do presentations. So only one person from each group should submit for each group what their presentation is. And that group can talk about it in class and so forth. All right. Well, anyways, make sure it's recording stuff. It's not recording. Make sure I save it.